To sum up and make some remarks, which I had to write down on my phone. Well, first of all, thanks to everybody. It's really amazing that this is happening. Particularly, I'd like to thank Rice, who gave me a lot of freedom to do it, and also came through with a lot of support. Shell, this doesn't go anywhere unless Carl Masters come to me 4 years ago. He came and says, "We got too much natural gas." I said, "Where is that coming from?" He says, "Well, I saw you can make some carbon fibers, maybe." And I thought it was bizarre, but it only took about a week to string it together. I thought, this can be done already. I never thought about the fact that the nanofused fibers were making I didn't know what a gigaton was. Everything for me was denominated in 10 to the minus 9, not 10 to the plus 9. So I thank Marie Marie, without Marie also this doesn't happen, because essentially she's been working as executive director of this carbon hub in the gestation phase, and now even more in the deployment. Been developing a lot of the backbone of what we've done. One thing that I'm very pleased to see is there's quite a few people I don't know in the audience, and also most of the people who are here I didn't know when I started this. I never talked to Ken Madlock and Mike Meyer, for example. I almost fear going to the Baker Institute, right? And it tells me that there's something here, because it's not just people I knew or people who were working in nanotubes who came to support, and it's the fact that we're involved in others. We're starting small. We made a press release back in the fall that there was a leading commitment by Shell for 10 billion, thanks to Jay and all the team and Leonardo and Joe for making this happen. And of course, Carla already thanked. Rice also made a substantial additional commitment to help us get it off the ground, and now it seems that Exxon and Prysmian and perhaps a couple of other companies may join us. I think Marie keeps telling me that we're flying the plane while we build it, so we don't have signed agreements, we don't have agreements to sign, but we're working on everything. One thing that keeps me thinking is, how do we measure success? It's very clear that we cannot measure opportunity and success with the standard techno-economic analysis or even the non-standard opportunity for those tools to start working. So how do we measure success? How do we keep everybody honest, including ourselves? How do we manage expectations? So these are all things that are very important, and I hope we're doing a reasonable job at this. It's clear that, as Marie said, we need to go beyond academia and industry. How do we get startups involved, including companies that are making these materials, because that is the best place to start. Now, luckily, Nanocomp, which is one of the leading companies, no longer a startup, it's in a big company, so the interactions can be different, but a lot of the knowledge here is in startups. How do we work with government in a situation that government has become so divisive? How do we get hooked up with finance and consulting, actually? It's very interesting. I haven't seen a model where investment companies actually start getting involved early in nonprofits because they realize that they will make better investments later on. So we're trying to see if we can make a dent in there. So can we get somebody like Breakthrough Energy, for example, to start looking at this and help us rather than just come in and window shopping? Now, vision without funding is hallucination. This is something that almost everybody knows, especially when you do science and engineering, and even more where you're talking about doing big problems. So it's going to be important that we continue to fundraise. And it's important that we get corporations to participate and also help with funding, and hopefully this is going to unlock also some philanthropy. Right now we built it as open, so you saw Cambridge, Penn State, Wisconsin, University of Milano, etc. here. Will other institutes appear? Well, if so, that'd be great, because that means that this is getting traction, and we need a name. We can't. And I had a very interesting moment when I met Lynn Helsenhans, and about slide number 5, she says, so Lynn Helsenhans is on the board of Southern Uncle Baker Hughes and had her career, she was running all US refineries for Shell, I think. She says, can you clarify what you mean by pyrolysis? And it turns out that a lot of people, when they think about pyrolysis, they think about solids. And so maybe we do need a different name to mean that we're splitting hydrocarbons and doing the dual use of hydrogen and carbon. So what are we going to call it? I don't know. The Carbon Hub is the name that's stuck for the Institute, but that cannot be the name of the field. And so to close, there's a few things that came to my mind. Usually when I don't like to give this type of speeches very much, so I think about the speech writers I like. I don't like Henry Ford very much as a person for some of his beliefs, but he did say that whether you think you can do it or not, you're right. And so we are obviously right, and if you are also right but you disagree, you don't have to come and tell us all the time. The other thing that's important that is, and I think this goes to David's comment, and actually there is one word that uses moonshot. You don't do it because you can, you do it because it's difficult and because it's important, right? And there are some things that are so important and so difficult that you just have to get started and do them, and then sometimes you succeed, sometimes you don't, but you still get better, and something good comes out of it. And I think that's something that is true here. Now, of course, that speech came from somebody who was the president of the U.S., and so when you're the president of the U.S., you have a lot of power to move things because you have the power of funding, and you have a power of being in a position of authority. And when I started talking about trying to do this about 3 years ago to Ganesh Kalaisen, who is OGCI, he said, Matteo, you're not ready to do this. You can't pull it off. I don't have a Nobel Prize. I think maybe we get the Nobel Peace Prize for bringing all the producers of carbon nanotubes together, but not the Nobel Chemistry Prize. And he said, you're not ready. You don't have the pull to do this yet. But there is another speechwriter, another person I really admire is Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King shows you that it doesn't matter who you have. If your message is strong, it's going to come up. Right? And so I think that actually the fact that we're doing this, even though I didn't push it as a very decorated scientist, etc., means that the concept is really good. The concept is really good. The evidence we have, which has been amassed by looking everywhere, companies, startups, labs, etc., it's really strong. And so we really need to do this, and we need to do this seriously, which means that we need to elevate the level of funding we can bring in, and we need to then deploy it and start moving as fast as we can towards the multiple goals. And of course, nanotubes are one, and it can be the most inspiring because we can really transform materials. But there are many other uses of carbons that perhaps are not as fancy, but can be just as useful and more immediately deployable, and that is an urgency that we also have. So thanks a lot for being here, and I look forward to interacting later on. Thanks.